Hello, this is Isaac, and in this short tutorial I will show you why you might want to use Webpack with your project. I'm going to talk about WordPress, but it doesn't really matter what tool you're using, what language, what framework, what CMS. Okay, so first of all, Webpack is a bundler, right? It's a module bundler, so it will take you all of your assets, whether it's JavaScript, SAS, CSS, and it will output them to one or more files. So let's say you have a web app, okay, and let's say you have a lot of JavaScript code that you need to write, and having one long file is really not practical. It will confuse you. So what I like to do, at least, I like to have my own JavaScript file for each page. So for this page I have this JavaScript, for that page I have another JavaScript file, but at the end I don't want to serve 5-10 different files. It's going to slow my website. I want to serve only one file, one minified file. So Webpack will help us. It will take your 5, 6, 7 files that you have, and it will bundle it into one file. And you can write ES6, you can write modern JavaScript code, use export, import, and all the great features that you can have. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to use it inside WordPress, but it really doesn't matter what tool you're using. So I have here a WordPress website, and I created a very basic theme. Here it is. It's missing a lot of parts. It doesn't have a 404 page. It doesn't have anything, just an index, just the necessary things like index.php, style.css, the functions. But I don't want to teach you how to build a WordPress theme, because there's more than enough tutorials about it. That's not my goal here. My goal here is to show you how to use Webpack so you can be productive when you write JavaScript and CSS. The rest you can figure out by yourself. It's really, you have many resources for it. Okay, so this is the site, and as you can see, I'm getting here an error that it can't find my asset files, the public CSS, the public.js. Because we don't have it yet, Webpack will create it for us. So first, let's talk about the structure. I have here an assets folder, source folder with a JS. This is the app.js, it's empty. And we have here the app.css, because I'm going to show you how to use SAS with Webpack. And we have a simply body background color red. But as you can see, it doesn't affect it yet. Now, so these are the assets. So I'm going to tell Webpack, take everything from here, and I want you to output it to a public folder, because you see we're looking here for a public CSS, and we specified it here as well. Public JS app.js, this is for the JavaScript, and this is for these theme styles, this is for the CSS, public CSS. Okay, so we're gonna tell Webpack create this file for us. So first we need, of course, to include packages via package.json. I already included all of them. I'm just going to go over them and explain how they work. Just so you would know, you can just run npm init and -y or without it, and it will create a package.json file for you. And then you can specify all the packages you want to install. You will have everything in the GitHub. You can just go take a look at the link below. So don't just type all of it. It's just gonna take you a long time. So these are the packages. The first package we have here is auto prefixer. It's basically, what it's going to do is, once you bundle your CSS, it will go all over your styles, and it would look, if you're using new CSS tree features that requires a web prefix like WebKit prefix or like Moz for Mozilla prefix, it will do it for you. So actually it's pretty cool, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So if you do display flex and you need to prefix it, don't prefix, this will do it for you. Now it's using post CSS to do it, so this is why we're using post CSS loader, because we have to use it, otherwise this is not going to work. And I'm going to show you quite simple. Every time you use post CSS, you pretty much need a post CSS config, and this is our config. And all we need to do is, we're going to tell it we're going to use this plugin. That's all we need. We're not going to write any code. That we're going to write SAS, but for this to work, the auto prefixer, we're going to use post CSS. So this is the only config we need. That's all. So this was easy. And of course, we have here all these babbles. You can go over the documentation of Webpack. It's quite a horrible documentation, I'll tell you that, but still, just go over it, and they will let you know all the packages that you need if you want to write ES6. So I'm including Babel because, you know, it's 2017 and we should use ES6 as much as we can. It's going to save us some time. And I'm going to use browser sync so we can, you know, so on every change the page will get reloaded by itself. Webpack has something called Webpack Dev Server. I tried to use it. It's horrible. It doesn't work well, so I'm not going to touch it. Browser sync is good enough for us. We don't need it. Cross env is so we can use environment variables, right? If you can see here. So in this case, if we run the production command, and we're also going to talk about it, I'm going to set the node environment to production. Okay, then I'm going to do some checking, and based on that I will minify files. But we'll talk about that. And, you know, CSS loaders, of course, because we need to use CSS Nano. This is what Webpack is using to minify the CSS. Extract text Webpack plugin, I'm going to talk about that. And for Sass, to minify our CSS. And this is for the other prefixer. This is for Sass. This is some style order. We're not necessarily using it, but it's good for a fallback. It's basically going to inline your CSS style in the header of the page instead of putting it into a separate file. An uglify.js, it's going to make your JavaScript ugly, which the meaning is it's going to minify it. Now notice this, the harmony flag. This is so we can minify ES6 code. As you can see here, it does not support minification of ES6. If you want to support it, you got to use the harmony. So this is the harmony. If you're not going to write ES6 from any reason, then just use this one, uglify.js. Okay, now these two packages, they depend on each other. Okay, so it's very important. And of course, we need Webpack. Okay, so these are all the packages we need. This is a very basic setup. If you need more complicated case scenarios, then, you know, go and read documentation, which is horrible, but what can we do? And just do what you need to do. Now we need to configure the Webpack. That's the most important part. So let's begin. So we have here some constants, like we need to the path, so we can tell Webpack where to output our files. We need Webpack itself. Extract text plugin. I'm going to talk about that. Uglify.js to minify JavaScript. Optimize to minify CSS, and for us to use it browser sync. Here is the config. Now you can have multiple entries. Okay, and in this case we only have one at the moment, so it's called app, and we're letting it know it's in this asset source.js app.js. This is the entry. This is the mother of all of our code, including the CSS, and so you'll soon see why. And the output is file name is going to be jsname.js. Now this name is coming from this one, from this. So in this case it's going to be app. But if I have here another, I have there like a vendor to include all my libraries, for example, then it's going to have two outputs, jsapp.js, jsvendor.js. Okay, and again the path is public, so this is why it's looking for the public folder, and we will create that very soon. Webpack will create it for us. So we're telling it output the files to the public folder, in this case jsname.js. This is for the JavaScript. Now this is the module option, and we can have set here some rules. So the rules will apply to everything in this app.js file. So if we have a Sass file, we're going to use the extract text plugin. Now let's talk about this. So as you can see here, I have here Sass, and I have here this code body background color. Now if you notice in the Webpack config, I'm not specifying the entry of the CSS file, right? I'm only specifying the entry of the JavaScript. So how in the world will Webpack know about it? Well, this was a bit confusing to me as well, because when I used gulp, you have a gulp task and you tell it to go to this Sass folder and, you know, do what you need to do, pipe it through the Sass and output it to whatever I'm going to tell you to. In Webpack it's different. In Webpack everything is going through the JavaScript file. So I can use import here, import, and we need to go one level up. Sass app.sass. Okay, this is it. Now, this plugin, the extract text plugin, will basically take will read this file and it will remove it from that JavaScript file to a separate CSS file. Now we're going to use here the CSS loaders because it's CSS. We're going to use the post Sass loader for the outer prefix, and we're going to use the Sass loader because we are going to write Sass. And this is just a fallback. This is just a recommendation from their documentation, but we're technically not using it. And this is for the JavaScript file, so it's we don't want to run over node modules and Bower components, of course. We're going to use Babel loader so we can write ES6. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So now, how does it know where to output the CSS file? Is here. Here we specify all the plugins that we're going to use. So we're going to use the extract text plugin, and we can tell it we want you to extract it to CSS name.css. Again, we're using the name. The name comes from this. So if I have here another, like I said, another file called vendor, and in that vendor I also have vendor.sass, then it will output it to vendor.sass, to public CSS. The path is always the same. It's going to be the public path, whether it's JavaScript or CSS, it doesn't matter. It's always going to use this path. And of course, we're going to use your browser sync. These are some options. And this is our URL, wordpick.dev. We're going to proxy it, port 3000. And we're going to watch PHP files. Now, it's very important that you will only watch PHP files, because if you will watch asset files, what will happen, it's going to collide with Webpack. So Webpack, it takes it a bit time to bundle everything. So if I'm going to watch an asset file, if I'm going to watch this app.js file, what will happen is I type some code, browser sync will reload, and only after that reload, Webpack will probably finish the bundle, and then it's going to reload again. So it's going to reload twice. So there's no need to do it. Watch the PHP files. Webpack will watch this JavaScript file, and when it's done, it will signal to browser sync to reload again. Quite simple. These are some extra options. You can go read about it. I'm not going to teach you about browser sync. It's really simple. And this is I'm checking to see if we are in production. So package.json. So if I run npm run production, now by the way, we're using here npm scripts. This is instead of using gulp. So gulp is a task runner. It's different from Webpack. Webpack doesn't have tasks. It doesn't create tasks. It's just a module bundler. But we still want to run some tasks like build, watch, production. So if it's production, we want to minify everything. We want to minify our JavaScript, we want to minify our CSS. So we can use npm scripts for that. So everything under the scripts. So if you want to run this command, you just do npm run build, npm run watch, npm run production. And here we're going to use this library cross env to set the cross environment global variables. In this case, we're going to call it node env, and we're going to set it to production. And after that, of course, we need to run Webpack because we want to compile everything. But because it's production, so and I'm checking it here. Is it production? If it's production, I want you to add to the plugins, to the plugin object, add more properties. So we're going to add the uglify JS to minify the JavaScript, and the optimize CSS to minify the CSS files. And when we're done, just module export the config. And this is pretty much a whole config, and we're going to run it for a test. All right, let's first do npm run build, a very basic one. Let's wait a little bit, and as you can see, it will let you know the chunk name is like the output file. So we have here app and app, so it's going to be app.js and app.css. It seems to succeed. Let's take a look at our public, and here it is. So this is our JavaScript file. This is some boilerplate from Webpack. And it's empty because we don't have anything in it. And this is our CSS file, our Sass file. Now let's take a look. No errors, and the background is red. Now let's prove that things are working, actually. Okay, so let's take a look at this app.css. Now let's do display flex, right? Let's see if it's going to auto prefix it. And let's put here let text equal to, we're going to use some template literals. This is ES6 code. Hello world. And we will console.log it. Okay, let's run npm run build one more time. And if we'll take a look at this, as you can see, it's auto prefixed it to the WebKit and to the MS. So it's working. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's great. And let's take a look at our JS file. And as you can see, it compiled it back to ES5. So it's working as well. And as you can see, hello world. Okay, so that's one thing. All right, now let's see if the minify is going to work. So we're going to do npm run production. Npm run production. Here it is, it's minified. Here it is, it's minified as well. And let's see. Yep, it's minified the ES6 code as well. Okay, so now this is going to save you a lot of time. Okay, and as you can see, I can now create another file. Let's save it. Let's call it, I don't know, about.js. And if I'm going to do console.log about, I'm going to save it. Now let's run browser sync. Okay, npm run watch. Here it is. Yeah, that's not the one. We want port 3000. Okay. Now this one we need to import it to the JavaScript file. So import about.js. Let's save it. And it should refresh. As you can see, it saved it. You see about. See if I save again, it's going to refresh again. Let's do it from the SAS folder. Let's remove this display effects, background color. Let's make it green. I saved it, commented out. It's white again, and it's simply working. And if I'm going to do here console.log about again, let's save it. About again, it's working. So BrowserSync is watching the files, and by the way, BrowserSync will also watch the PHP files. So if I'm going to go here to index.php, hello Wordpack from Isaac, it's going to refresh again. You pretty much right now with this environment, again, the theme itself is not a complete WordPress theme. You will have to work on it, but you have now created for yourself a great way to compile all of your assets, and no more to refresh the page after every change. No more of that. Webpack will do everything for you, and we're going to use here a modern syntax, all this import. So if I have here more JavaScript files, I'm just going to import them, so you don't have to write everything in one single file. This for me, this is amazing. Now you can also have multiple entry points if you want. Okay, you might want to have a vendor file or whatsoever, but this is a very basic one. Okay, as you can see, it works. It's watching our files. See if I click save, see it's going to compile it again. And this is the way you should work, even if you think that you're not writing a lot of CSS, you're not writing a lot of JavaScript. Still, this is a good way of working with your assets, because you just have to do it once. In this case, all you have to do is download my Git repo and add your own things if you want to. But this is working quite well, and everything on the spot, and Webpack is great for it. And so this is the basic configuration. Of course, you have to go read about it. This Webpack is a very powerful tool, and it can do much more than what I've showed you. So this is it pretty much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I really hope that your start going to work. And that when, again, another last word about gulp. In this case, you really don't need gulp, because Webpack is different from gulp, but we use gulp to run our tasks. But this is why we have npm scripts. So if we go to our package.js, we can have here many more tasks. So this is the production task, watch task, build task, So we really don't need gulp here. I know that most of the WordPress community is still in gulp and grunt. I was in gulp until yesterday. Then I switched to Webpack because I really like this modern way of writing code. I mean, you can even export your functions. Export function hello, right? And I can do here console.log hello, and I can import it. Import hello from. Let's hope I remember this syntax. Okay, let's see if it's going to work. Hello is not defined. Oh yeah. Hello, as you can see, it's working. So you see, this is very useful also. You can have like some helper.js file, and you can just export whatever you need. So you don't have to necessarily import all of it. You can just take what you need from it. So let's say I don't want to import this whole JavaScript file. I just want to import this function, and it's still going to work. So this is the power of Webpack, the power of ES6 in general. Okay, so use it, have fun, and please, any question, feel free to ask. Have a great day.